The film opens in 1964 when young Frank visits the New York World's Fair. He walks by many other ambitious inventors while carrying a heavy bag. He meets the well-known inventor David Nix. Frank demonstrates his self-built jetpack. Eventually Frank meets a girl named Athena. She asks if the jetpack works effectively. Frank says he tested it, and it didn't exactly fly but catapulted him into the field behind his house. Nix wonders about how this invention might improve the world. Frank responds it's simply a fun invention, and he believes that everyone who sees anyone flying it would be inspired. Nix rejects the jetpack as it has no purpose and doesn't work before sending Frank out. In a quick flashback, we find Frank disagreeing with his father, who believes the jetpack is pointless, but Frank is adamant that he will not give up. Once outside, Athena approaches him and hands him a T-shaped pin. She instructs him to follow her and Nix as they prepare for a ride. Frank climbs onto a boat, where a light inside the tunnel scans the pin on his jacket, leading him into an underground path. It guides him into a pod that sends him to an unknown location. When he walks outside, he finds Athena riding in a pod and waving at him. Then, two bigger robotic pods begin to build something, pushing Frank over the edge. He falls on a ledge, followed by his jetpack, disintegrating. A huge robot picks up the jetpack and repairs it, and gives Frank a thumbs up. Two guys appear and yell for Frank, leading him to tumble again. As he falls through the sky, he reaches for his jetpack, catching a glimpse of the future utopia that he's been lured to. He quickly puts on the jetpack and flies into the air in front of everyone's eyes before landing in front of Nix and Athena, but Nix is still not impressed. Athena is happy and takes his hand to walk him into what is known as Tomorrowland, and Frank narrates that everything went to hell after. Casey then begins her narrative in a positive way. We see a video of her as a kid with her parents, gazing up at the stars and naming all of them. She had hoped to visit there eventually. Present day, Casey is shown breaking into the NASA launch pad in Cape Canaveral. She destroys a machine being utilized to replace the workers, including her father, Engineer Eddie. Casey walks away, unaware that Athena is observing her. She comes home, where her younger brother Nate spots her slipping back in. He swears not to notify their father about Casey's activities. Athena follows Casey to her house and takes out her last pin, similar to the one she gave Frank, before picking up a strand of Casey's hair and coding it to her DNA. Casey is on her way to school when she stops to help her father Eddie fix a gadget he has been working on. Unlike Casey, Eddie has accepted that the NASA platform will be shut down and informs her about the new machinery arriving for the replacement, to which Casey gets sad, but she tells him a story about the two wolves, in which two wolves battle metaphorically in all of us, and the one they feed always wins. Casey attempts to break into the platform again in order to destroy the new machinery. She uses a toy with a camera, only to be caught by the police and arrested. Her father gets her bail, and she proceeds to get her belongings. One of them is a pin she hadn't seen before. She momentarily touches it and finds herself in a wheat field. Casey jumps up, only to discover herself still in the police station. She takes up the pin again and returns to the field. She moves up to see what appears to be a large castle. She approaches it, only to hit her forehead against the wall. Eddie is furious about her actions. She attempts to show him what the pin is capable of, but it doesn't work for him. Casey grabs it again and finds herself hovering above the field as she is driven. Eddie snatches it away from her and instructs her to stop. Casey sneaks into Eddie's room that night and retrieves the pin. She begins heading toward the castle and trips and falls down the steps. She gets outside and races her bike in the route of the castle. She sees herself in Tomorrowland while holding the pin. She notices three men rolling in jetpacks. One man crashes and falls, his suit forming an airbag. Casey keeps going across the area, astonished by everything she sees. The other guests can also see her and engage with her. Casey then observes that the timer has reached less than 2 minutes. She notices a group wearing space suits, and she follows them as they head to a shuttle, and one attendant invites her in. Casey finds the timer on the pin running out and finds herself walking across the water. As she gets close, she finds herself in the marsh and gets frustrated over the pin's limited capacity. Casey returns home and asks Nate to access their father's computer. He helps her to get an address to a business that sells pins similar to Casey's. She informs Nate that she saw the future and says he will get to see it one day. She requests him to inform their father that she has gone on a camping trip. The next day, Athena arrives at Casey's house pretending as a Girl Scout. Nathan recognizes her deception, but Athena also recognizes Nate's lies when he claims Casey went camping. So he informs Athena where Casey went. Casey visits a store named Blast from the Past, which sells old artifacts. Casey meets the store owners, Hugo and Ursula. As she shows them the pin, they ask whether she saw anything and where she found it. Casey claims she found it after being arrested, which prompted Ursula to push a button. They began asking her threateningly if she had seen a girl. They then pull out 2 laser weapons and point them at Casey. Athena then storms in and shoots a time sphere, trapping the 2 in a bubble and preventing them from killing Casey. Athena persuades Casey to follow her and pulls her out of the bubble. She then fights them, and Ursula accidentally impales Hugo before Athena rips off her head, and we learn they are robots. Athena takes Casey and flees before the robots self-destruct and wreck the store. Athena then breaks into a vehicle and steals it using her special key. She admits to putting the pin in her helmet, and Casey discovers Athena is also a robot. She gets scared and hits the brakes to pull over the car and run away. Athena pursues her and is struck by a vehicle. The driver exits to check on her, allowing Casey to steal the truck. But soon, Athena jumps up and chases her down before catching up with her. She tells Casey she gave her the last pin and is unwilling to let it go to waste. Athena admits Tomorrowland exists but will soon be destroyed, as they built something they shouldn't have. A group of robots visits the destroyed store. When the police find Ursula's robot head, the robots then vaporize them using their laser guns. The following morning Athena throws Casey off the car and leaves, and Casey learns she arrived at Frank's residence. She is approached by a wild dog, who turns out to be a hologram. She walks to the front door and calls out to Frank. She shows the pin to the camera, but a strong force throws her back. Frank tells Casey to leave and informs her that Tomorrowland doesn't exist anymore and that what she has witnessed is a commercial that was recorded decades ago, and says she was manipulated to feel she is special, but he assures her that she is not. Casey refuses to leave, and she sets fire to Frank's tractor, and he runs to deal with it, distracting him long enough for her to sneak into his house. She discovers a handful of Frank's creations, including a gadget that recorded him as a kid with Athena, where he tried to make her laugh but failed. He didn't appear to realize she was a robot. Casey enters his room and finds a slew of monitors linked worldwide, as well as a countdown clock. Frank has supposedly created something that will go off in 59 days. Frank successfully returns inside through the secret entrance beneath the stairs. Frank informs her that he can't take her to the place she saw since he has been thrown out. Frank has given up hope, but Casey has still not, and the 100% possibility bar on Frank's screen drops a few points. The robots then appear and threaten to kill Frank if he does not hand over Casey. They burst in and assault, forcing Frank to rely on whatever weapons he had prepared to defend himself. Casey discovers a portal machine and puts it on one robot, while Frank activates a laser trap to eliminate a few others. They enter the bathroom and climb into a bathtub, where Frank releases the tub and blows his house up. They land in the river, and quickly head towards Frank's getaway bike. They find a vehicle approaching and learn it is Athena, but Frank isn't happy to see her. Frank takes Athena and Casey to a teleportation device, one of his creations, fearing they would be tracked. Frank prepares Casey for a blood sugar drop and covers her eyes. Casey collapses on the floor when they get to their location. Athena brings her a bottle of Coke, which she immediately chugs. They go outdoors and find themselves in the Eiffel Tower. They enter a chamber with mannequins of Gustav Eiffel, Nikola Tesla, Jules Verne, and Thomas Edison. They founded Plus Ultra, a network of innovators devoted to discovering more dreamers and inventors to shape a better future. Their research together revealed a new realm which later became Tomorrowland. Frank reveals the rocket buried beneath the tower. As Athena spots the oncoming robots, Frank guides them to the rocket. 3 robots then begin to attack. The rocket takes off into the sky as several people are watching it. The capsule then breaks apart and heads back to Earth before blasting into the other dimension. They crash land in Tomorrowland, which appears to be broken down and deserted. Frank gives the special bomb to Athena so she can hide it. Nix, the city's governor, enters and is not pleased to see Frank and Athena, and tells Frank they're not permitted to be there, but Frank insists Casey can fix everything. He leads them to his tower, where they step on a platform that uses tachyons to transport them a few moments into the future. They find a monitor designed by Frank's algorithm that depicts specific events. Casey sees herself with Nate and Eddie 3 days earlier. Frank explains she can also look into the future. She looks out towards the NASA platform near Cape Canaveral, and as time goes on, the platform is nearly destroyed. While Frank's machine forecasts that the world will end in 58 days, she looks about and witnesses riots, natural calamities, and complete disasters. Casey questions why they're not informing people on Earth, and Nix answers that he doesn't care as it's their world that will end, not Tomorrowland. And he will not let anyone in, as they'll do the same thing to Tomorrowland as they did to Earth. Casey doesn't like this, and her perception prompts the screen to briefly display a better future. Frank says there is still a chance, but Nix knocks him out. After a while, Frank wakes up, and Athena informs him that they will be deported again. Casey is upset because she cannot accept that they are all going to die, and when Frank attempts to comfort her, she bursts, accusing them of manipulating her. When she continues to rant, she realizes that Frank has been pirating the machine's signal to monitor it at his house, and the signal is now floating about Earth, zapping these doomsday notions into people's heads, making them feed the wrong wolf. She suggests turning off the machine will help people to see the brighter side. The guards arrive to take up the three so they may be escorted out of Tomorrowland through a portal. Casey tries to inform Nix of her findings and requests that he turn off the machine, but Nix claims it's impossible. Frank realizes that Nix is deliberately implanting the concept in people's minds. Nix reveals that alerting the authorities of the disaster was disregarded in the past, so he placed the notion right into people's thoughts as a warning to get them to change their ways. Instead of fighting for a brighter future, humanity accepts the end of the planet as an unavoidable reality. Nix believes it isn't the machine's fault but the humans'. Nix prepares a portal to deport the three before the planet dies, but Frank begins fighting him as Athena and Casey attempt to destroy the machine with Frank's kiloton explosive. Casey mounts a platform up to toss the bomb, but Nix causes it to malfunction and is dropped down. Casey sees the bomb's timer is running out, and Athena explains that they can't stop it, so Casey tosses it through the portal, prompting Frank and Nix to race back. The bomb destroys the portal, and half of it crashes on Nix's leg, crushing him. He tries to shoot Frank, which Athena notices and jumps in to save Frank by taking the shot herself. Frank brings Athena to be fixed, but she is aware that time is running short and she can't be fixed. Athena reveals she knew Frank had a crush on her, and still remembers how disappointed he was after learning she was a machine. So Athena saved a few thoughts for him and played a tape, where Athena experienced strange feelings for Frank, revealing that she liked him too. Frank is happy to learn that Athena liked him and never lost faith in him. Athena instructs Frank to destroy the machine using her self-destruct sequence. Frank uses his jetpack to get her to the highest peak. They say their last goodbyes as Athena stops functioning altogether. Frank throws her into the machine, which makes it explode and fall on top of Nix. Frank and Casey decide to work together for a better future. Casey returns home using the portal and brings Eddie and Nate to Tomorrowland. Frank then makes out more pins, and we see them delivering the message to the robots, much like Athena, hoping to continue bringing the idea of fulfillment to Tomorrowland. Frank and Casey offer pins to all of the robots and use the portal to transport them to various locations throughout the world. They pass them on to others they believe are worthy to witness the future. The people discover the pins and tap them, revealing the secret of Tomorrowland. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.